Good morning, fellow General Hospital viewers, here for my pretty quick update of yesterday's mediocre episode of the show. This has not been my favorite week so far, The crash story has been front and center. And although I feel like they are trying to combine some stories with it that could be interesting, I don't really know if Jonathan Bennett's acting is going to be able to pull it off, however. We talked about that stunt casting yesterday, and I still kind of feel similar. But they're setting up this story where Fitzpatrick is kind of a new cop in Port Charles and is already saying that the PCPD ain't shit, basically. Was even considering quitting the force after a talk with Dante because he learned the lay of the land and that Curtis has connections, He's dating the former police commissioner, he's friends with the mayor. All these things that Fitzpatrick doesn't think he's going to be able to work around because as a cop, he doesn't like to look the other way. So he wanted to resign. But Dante says in his department, people don't get special treatment. Clearly, at some point, I think Fitzpatrick is going to catch on to the fact that Dante is trying to protect his own son. So it's a decent setup for that. I still think Jonathan Bennett is very stiff, very robotic on this show acting. Clearly not used to doing a soap opera anymore, I guess. However, I like the setup, and I like that there's someone in the PCPD who actually wants to do his job and maybe be good at it and maybe figure out things and not just let people off the hook for things. Jordan came to visit Curtis. We talked about yesterday how she came with her head covered, but not the scars that she was trying to hide. Just very odd thing to see. She asked Curtis what happened with Isaiah, how it went from Curtis having suspicions about Isaiah to hitting Isaiah. Curtis told Jordan about the confrontation with Isaiah and that Isaiah got in his face and said that he would be a better fighter than Curtis, and that's when he hit Curtis, which still does not mean that Curtis was in the right, because he's still the one that committed the crime. Jordan even said that it sounded like the cop, Fitzpatrick, did it by the book, but Jordan wants to see what she can do. Jordan does bail Curtis out, and Dante will hand off the case to ADA Turner to see if she will prosecute. Jordan thinks that, her and Justine are friends, so why would she bring a case against Curtis? So once again, they are showing that in Port Charles, it's not what you do, it's who you know and all of that. That seems to be the story they are trying to tell, which is interesting for a soap opera because these characters on a soap opera are always so interconnected that they would turn the other cheek for characters that are supposed to be good guys but commit a crime. It happens a lot in soap operas, so this is a different approach. So I will give the show that I still think the writing for Curtis is totally nonsensical. How he doesn't want to be prosecuted for a crime he actually committed, but he wants Isaiah prosecuted for a crime that he doesn't even know if Isaiah was the right person. But whoever the person was that didn't stop at the car accident didn't actually commit a crime like Curtis just did. So yeah, Curtis coming out of this still the most infuriating character. Very impossible to root for. Justine was with Sonny talking about the Curtis and Isaiah fight, and Sonny actually did a good job of convincing Justine that maybe she shouldn't just turn the other cheek and maybe she should still press on with the charges against Curtis, even though she is friends with Jordan, because she did admit to Sonny that if Jordan wasn't with Curtis looking at the crime committed, it would be her duty to prosecute. So they are even involving Justine in this and the Justine and Jordan friendship. So there's possibilities of some actual good drama from this. The setup has been so ridiculous with the car crash and with Isaiah versus Curtis, though. And yeah, insufferable Curtis has been a lot, to say the least. I also don't love what they're doing with the Anna stuff. Gio was trying to comfort a devastated Emma after learning about Anna being taken to a crazy facility. And also, she's still upset about the broken mug that she made for Anna when she was 10, that she accidentally broke yesterday. So Gio was helping her through that. They talked about Anna getting worse. Gio was trying to convince Emma that even though Anna seems to be losing her mind, that her grandma is still in there somewhere. What I don't like about the story is that I find that there's certain characters that I think would be wanting to go and try and help Anna. But there doesn't seem to be like nobody besides Valentin by the end of this episode really seems to want to try and help Anna, and I don't really know if that makes sense for character motivations, especially Emma. I feel like we see the other younger characters wanting to help Jason. I feel like Emma would want to do something to help Anna, and I get it's in a different country and it's a very high security prison or whatever it is facility. But still, I feel like there is a lack of, it's just very lackadaisical. So I would like for there to be more characters concerned about actually trying to help Anna. Valentin and Carly had one of their episodes where they bickered. Carly was drinking alone to start the episode. Carly doesn't trust that Joss is just out on an assignment and that she and Valentin should just try and get a cover for her to family and friends. Carly thinks there could be another reason why Joss is missing and that she could actually be in danger. But then Valentin learned about Anna escaping and the high-speed chase and her going to the facility for the criminally insane. Valentin thinks whatever Cullum has been doing did break Anna, so Valentin wants to go to France and break Anna out of prison. Do I think that's actually going to happen right now? I don't know. I feel like the show has been stalling the Anna storyline. I don't know if Enola Hughes is semi-retired. I've heard that, so I don't know if they could like get her back on time, but I think before she retires, they need to settle the storyline. So hopefully sooner rather than later, someone, if not Valentin, will actually go and try and help Anna. Rocco met with Danny and Charlotte. He learned that they're sneaking into Windermere tonight. Didn't want them to. Tried to convince them not to. Couldn't do it. Rocco is so whiny in these scenes. And the actor that plays Rocco has devolved as the storyline has gone along, because at the start he was doing really good work, but now he's being so over the top and whiny that it's actually hard for me to watch his scenes, I fear. But when Danny and Charlotte went to Windermere anyway, Rocco went to go see Gio to try and let him know what was happening, even though he couldn't get himself to tell Gio. He ended up having a breakdown instead, saying that he's afraid what's going to happen to him if the truth comes out. Gio wants to help Rocco, but Rocco just runs off. Gio goes to see Dante at the end of the episode to let him know that his son Rocco is in trouble. Meanwhile, Cullum and Sidwell met up, and Cullum is thinking that Danny is the one that actually shot him because he thinks that Jason would only take the fall for someone like Danny, his own son. Sidwell was trying to convince Cullum that there's not enough evidence for that, especially since Cullum wants to just kill Danny, because if Danny was at the pier, he saw too much. Sidwell says that Danny is a Quartermain and it could cause a firestorm. Sonny will definitely get involved if that happens. Which Sidwell was right. I do like that they are at least building up to some tension between Sidwell and Cullum. That should hopefully explode sooner rather than later when Sidwell finally learns that Cullum is the one that killed Marco. Britt then came up from the basement to say that she's all done for the day. She did all she can do in the next 24 hours. It'll be time for the final phase. She wants her meds, but Cullum's not going to give her her meds until he finds out from her why she told the authorities that Jason shot him. Britt said that Jason was the only person on the pier when she came to, and she wanted to believe that Jason put a bullet in Cullum's back and wished that he shot Cullum twice. This upset Cullum, of course. Cullum wanted to keep Britt in the basement tonight, but Sidwell disagreed. Sidwell kind of, bossed up to Cullum here and said that Britt understands the stakes and that's not necessary. But Danny and Charlotte were outside the building listening to this. And when everyone dispersed and left, Danny and Charlotte broke in. Rocco, meanwhile, went to Britt to let her know that Danny and Charlotte are breaking into Windermere. And then, of course, Danny and Charlotte ran right into Cullum. at Windermere, the wrong person to run into, because he is the scarier villain than Sidwell, because it seems like he's just cold-blooded, whereas Sidwell is the cartoon villain of the show, but he doesn't ever seem to really make progress on any of his villainy, whereas Cullum, you kind of feel like he can. So when they do explode Sidwell versus Cullum, I do wonder how they're going to pull it off, because I actually think Cullum is the better villain of the two, only because he actually seems like he can do villainous things, whereas they have Sidwell seeming dumb. But I am looking forward to that exploding. I don't know who's going to save Danny and Charlotte. I assume Britt's going to try, maybe Dante as well. Maybe they work together. So it was a good cliffhanger. But overall, the episode was still pretty mid to me, as the last few episodes have been. But they're set up with the Crash storyline, even though it's been bad writing and pretty infuriating to get us to that point.